Hi guys, and welcome to Piano and Keyboard Artists, where we discuss the artists related to pianos, keyboards and synthesizers. And if you're a fan of industrial quality hybrid music, I hope I said that right, I'm here with the guys from Mesh. It's Rich and Mark. Gentlemen, how are you?
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thanks for asking.
I'm fine, thank you very much.
Now, guys, with my channel, I've been asked, obviously, a lot of you send in recommendations and you say, Vaughn, can you talk about this? Can you talk about this? And Mesh is a name that came up so many times. And then eventually when I thought, okay, well, let me just listen to it. The first song I listened to was My Protector. And that got me into a few other things. And one of the first things I realized when I listened to this, I went back to the person, I can't remember who it was, and I said, this is brilliant. And then the next question I asked was, why have I not heard about this? So guys, I just want to say that Mesh, I feel, is one of Britain's best kept secrets. And so guys, if you want to talk about how Germany have taken you under their wing, and Scandinavia and all the countries in the world that have embraced you, Russia.
Yeah, I mean, when we first started, we done the usual rounds of sending out demo tapes to record companies and things like that. And although we had kind of a reasonable amount of success from that, we kind of ended up doing some shows in Europe, and I think the European market kind of was more fitting for us, and I think people embraced what we were doing. And so I don't say we neglected the kind of the UK. It's just the fact that it was kind of a really good market for us. So we kind of ended up there.
So it's just quite organic, because I think I just recently interviewed Assemblage 23, who you guys work, and he had lovely things to say about you guys. And I was, when I heard Assemblage 23 the first time, I was also shocked to hear that they were American. He was American, because it's just got, I think, and your music just has that sound which is kind of synonymous with Germany and Scandinavia and that. And so let's, Mark, you're the quiet one.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
but the front man. So tell us, how long have you guys been friends for? You met
20 something years, 5?
27 years.
27.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
27.
Yeah, it'd be about right. Yeah. But we just built this from the ground up. We didn't really know what we were doing. We'd both been in bands before. But I think, especially with kind of releasing stuff and making singles and albums and things like that, we didn't really know what we were doing. I think Rich was the only one who had a single. You can probably find it somewhere on the internet.
Don't mention that single.
Anyway, no, he didn't. It was like a construction process from the beginning. But it's.
And what strikes me, guys, I've spent a few minutes with them, and what strikes me with them is this down-to-earth, sort of unassuming guys you could speak to in the pub kind of thing. But you've started in 1991, and your first album came out in 1996. And
we had a kind of EP before that. We had a kind of an EP called Fragile. And that was just a collection of the kind of the songs we had written at that time. But yeah, maybe the first proper full length album
was like a cottage industry, really. Before we got a deal and did any touring, we would do things like cassettes and things like that, and we'd make them for whoever would listen, really. And then we didn't have an album. Really, we did a Future Music. There was a magazine called Future Music, and we did a CD on there, just with a few tracks on it. And we sent something into Radio 1 once as well, didn't we? On one of these sort of new artist things. And it kind of went from there. I thought, actually, we're getting a lot of interest from this Future Music, because it was, it was the first edition. Sure. It was thousands of people that heard it, and we sort of went from there, really. But we kind of did it ourselves to start with. We did the first EP, and then a Swedish company took it over, did the same album, basically, the same EP, but they released it. But yeah, so we did everything ourselves for a few years. So really, that was the reason for the delay, really.
So you say you did it all yourselves, and this is back in the 90s, sort of like and those were the days where it was not very easy. Remember, guys, it's quite easy to do it these days, not to get success, but to put out a record these days is not difficult to do it. But I mean, in those days it was difficult. So what was the first song that you guys did that kind of got you the recognition and really sort of blew the doors open?
I think, when we first started, we was obviously writing enough songs to go out and do some gigs. Okay. That was the kind of the aim, if you like. So we'd done I don't know, maybe a year of kind of
Trust You was probably the first one, wasn't it?
a couple of early songs like Waste of Time and Trust You was the first things we wrote. But when it came to kind of maybe releasing something, we didn't want to put all these songs out. We'd already not toured them, but played them quite a lot. So we said, right, let's sit down and write something. And like I said, Fragile was this first thing we wrote, and it caught the attention of quite a few people. Certainly in Europe. In these kind of clubs, so that was the kind of the major starting point, and we'd only pressed 500 of these because that's all we could afford to do. You know what I mean? And they all sold, and even now I think they're quite collectible. I've seen them fetching quite a bit of money because they're that first edition kind of thing that we
on
pressed.
our own label as well.
Yeah.
So there was another version after on a different label, but those are the rare ones, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay, now so on the writing process, obviously you had 4 members. I met one of your members, Jeff. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. No. Originally, it was 3 of us. It was me, Mark, and a guy called Neil. So it was the 3 of us that started it, and we went for a long period as kind of a trio, if you like, or 3-piece. And then Neil decided, kind of later on, that he wanted to kind of almost lead a normal life and get out of this business.
It's overrated, I would say.
So he left, and Jeff was just a good friend that we knew, and he came on board as the kind of keyboard player. So he was almost a kind of member, but not an official member. He was kind of like a session player for us, and yeah.
But Mesh has always actually been you two. You're the core members.
In the writing process, it's been me and Mark. Yeah.
So when we talk about the writing process, how you would typically, because you both program, you both write. Which one of you is more, Mark? Because you're the singer. Are you more of the lyrics? And
I do all the lyrics. Yeah, I do all the lyrics. So we kind of divide the music between us, really. So yeah. Sometimes I'll have something already. So I'll have done something already, and I've done the lyrics for it, and then we'll muck about with it once it's done, because it's not always. Sometimes I write something, it's not quite maybe right, or I haven't spent enough time on the music because basically I've done the song. That's for me. That's the hardcore of what it is. Sure. But sometimes I will write something and say, well, okay, musically, that's what I want it to sound like, and then Rich will give me something finished, like a piece of music, and then sometimes he give me the files and I'll deconstruct it, or sometimes I'll just work with what he's given me. I might rearrange it. It's not always in the same order that you gave it to me in, but
or recognize it when it comes back.
But that's that's the beauty of using the computers. I mean, you can break things up. A bit that he might have thought was a chorus. I think, well, I guess I could verse that, and the middle 8 is actually the chorus. Sometimes, not always. Usually it's in the structure that it was given to me, and I try and work out the best thing to do with it. That might mean adding something to it musically. It might mean saying, can you take that out, or can you give me the files and I'll strip the bits out that I want. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's interesting. It's never the same. It's always
But I think your longevity could be down to the fact that the core is the 2 of you, and I think the problem always is to eliminate the moving parts, because there's just 2 of you. And I always think of like the most successful songwriting. You had Lennon McCartney, you had Simon and Garfunkel, and I think it's once there's too many, you get these bands where everyone writes. That's when there's a problem. But I think you two being the sort of creative force, it keeps it simple. But now let's talk about your live shows now. I've been looking on YouTube, and you guys do a lot of festivals in Russia, Germany. So do you get session musos in for that? You have drummers, extra keyboard players.
Yeah. I think from 2007 onward, we decided we'd kind of like a drummer. Yeah. Maybe for the visual aspect and maybe the energy side of it. So we had a drummer, and then we've got another drummer now. So Sean has been our kind of long-term drummer, and he's always with us. And now we've got Rich, who's another keyboard player. So he provides obviously keyboards and backing vocals. So when we go out, we're a 4-piece. But when we're writing, it's just me and Mark. Me and Mark are Mesh basically, and then when we go out, we have musicians who's part of that live setup. So
okay, I was just going to ask you guys one of the most annoying questions, and I'm going to ask you anyways. How do you define your music? Because I think it's very difficult for you as an artist to define your music. But imagine you were at a dinner party. You two are at a dinner party. 2 people had never met you because they're from the UK, because you've been kept a big secret. and you're sitting there and someone comes, I believe you're in a band. What type of music do you do? How would you explain it?
I mean, I usually just say it's electronic industrial, and they usually go away then, because they don't really know what either of those things are. I don't know. I mean, I suppose we write songs and we use electronic stuff. I don't think we're trying to fit into a genre as such, but we do get. I mean, inevitably you get labelled with something. So
synth pop is one of these kind of European words that I really don't like, but it kind of sums up what we do. If you know what I mean, it's electronic music. It's kind of alternative. It's a little bit dark, melancholic, and we do use obviously real instruments as well. But
I mean, I suppose
primarily it's electronic.
As much as we'd like to say that it's not really about the keyboards and the synths and the electronic, it kind of is, because that's what we're interested in. It is kind of that. We get a lot of pleasure out of doing that. So I suppose it is about that, but I suppose primarily, it's about writing songs and just delivering it in a way that people like. But I think there is a technology aspect to it.
Absolutely.
Because we do enjoy that side of it, I think.
Yeah, I think it's very. People always want to put you in a box. They always want to go, you're a this, and it's very interesting if you go to a lot of artists and you say, what type of music do you, as you've defined it now? Some people might say, oh no, they're more like electro / blah, blah, blah. But anyway, it is just interesting how people define music. But let's go on to your albums now. As I say, you've done about 8 studio albums to date. Is that right? I want to talk about, and your most successful album to date, from what I can tell, is the Automation Baby. Which was it not?
It was the last album. Looking Skyward was
Looking Skyward was your most. When we say success, so we deem success as far as the most albums sold.
Yeah. I mean, with that last album, it went into the official German charts at number 12, which kind of totally blew us away. We never expected ever to go.
We wanted number 9.
We did want number 1 to be fair, but we never kind of expected that. We never really thought we was ever going to be kind of a top 20 kind of album band, but it did. So that was kind of quite overwhelming. It shocked us really. But,
and there was a bit of a leap in audiences as well during that time. So yeah, I think probably the last album, but Automation Baby as well was another success for us, another chart one.
And your 2006 album, We Collide. This is for all the fanboys out here. That was produced by Gareth Jones. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. The famous Gareth Jones.
He was in this very room.
Yeah. So it was one of those times our record label kind of wanted him to do it, and they liked his production ideas and skills, and we kind of shied away from it from the previous album because obviously his connection with Depeche Mode, and we kind of, we've always suffered with this kind of whole Depeche Mode sound alike kind of thing, maybe from the start, not so much now. I think we've defined our sound and we are who we are, but back then it was kind of, we didn't really want that connection, but we did go with it in the end, and it turned out really good. I mean, Gareth was amazing to work with, and he had some really interesting ideas, and he certainly pulled different lines out of songs to make him kind of different. He would maybe pick a line that was sat in the background that, maybe a percussive little line, and he brought it to the foreground. And it was kind of...
He was working just on a Mac as well, wasn't he? He didn't have anything else. And at the time, I mean, that seems normal now, but it wasn't at the time. He thought, well, where's his equipment? He's just got a Mac. And that was quite interesting, because it's like, okay, you can do that, because we obviously had the desk. I mean, our desk was bigger then. It took up the entire place. So... yeah, it was interesting from the point of view of how you can work, because he just puts his laptop in his bag, turns up at a hotel. He's doing mixing in the hotel. In fact, we went to his hotel room to mix, didn't we?
Well, you went. He also made you sing a song straight through. So there was kind of no like editing of vocals.
It's very innovative.
And he made him sing it over and over again, and every time was just like a single take, if you know what I mean. So certain tracks on that album was literally start to finish, no edits, literally just singing them through. Which again, for us, that was something quite new, you know what I mean? It was different, and obviously it's hard for Mark, but it's all right for me. But he was a really interesting guy, and such a humble chap. You know what I mean? He'd worked with so many kind of big artists, obviously the obvious Depeche Mode thing, and he had some really good stories, and he is a guy who actually really knows
Get
his
some better
stuff.
stories after you worked for us for
Yeah,
a
of course,
couple of weeks. The places we took him to eat.
Cat.
Richard, you showed me this earlier. The orchestral stuff you did. You did. Do you want to talk about that? Because that is it was like all your songs done acoustically. What was how did that come about?
Yeah, there's this event in Germany. It's called it's in Leipzig. What's it called? Gothic to Classic kind of thing. And the idea is basically they would take bands, you present your songs to them. They choose 5 out of the 8 we sent them.
I see.
They take that away and then they kind of orchestrate that. So it will be played by a full orchestra. So we got involved in that, and we went to Poland to do a rehearsal with them, and it was just it's just one of those things. It's just like, it doesn't get any better than this. I remember standing there looking at all these kind of real musicians, if you like, playing our music, and it was just completely overwhelming, really. Just to hear this and think, well, we wrote that.
You wrote that.
Yeah. So it's amazing.
For me, on the other hand, it was absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, and then we had to do a show in Leipzig, and it was in the Gewandhaus, or however you pronounce it, and it was a kind of purpose-built concert hall, and it's one of 4 in the world that's perfectly acoustic. And we played this kind of sold-out show in front of 2,000 people there, and it was just mind-blowing, really, really cool. And it was got a standing ovation, and it was very, very odd, but also one of the kind of highlights of our career, really.
I mean, you walk out in complete silence, so it's not. I mean, normally we have some, huge intro and masses of electronics going on and people cheering and projections. Nothing. You just walk out. You can just hear the footsteps like that as you walk out. You think, oh my God, what have I done? And you can't really make any mistakes. It's one of those. I mean,
you're more bare, you're more naked. It's more honest.
You get one shot at it. So if you make a mistake and it's being recorded, and it was quite nerve-wracking, and it's harder than you think to do it because the orchestra wavers in timing. It goes fast and slow, fast and slow, and it moves around on the beat. So if you try and do it without any kind of, you need a
click.
You have to have a click. So the piano player, the lead, has got a click. The conductor's got a click.
I see.
So they know the timing.
Sure.
And the orchestra wavers around like that. So you have to stick with the click, and then the orchestra works around your voice, and it's terrifying.
I can imagine that.
If you take the earphones out, you've had it. I mean, you really, because you just have to sing, and then hope that the orchestra catches up and slows down, and catches up and slows down. So that was the biggest, scariest thing, really. You just got to hope that everyone knows what they're doing. Of course, they know what they're doing; they're professionals. But the silence was the thing that got me, really.
I know Gary Newman said exactly the same thing as you guys when he did his tour with the Scaparis Orchestra, and he was so humbled by it as well, because he said to hear your music, something along the lines of, he also identifies as being not a musician, so to speak, but to hear your music played on that scale by musicians of that caliber, it's really humbling.
Definitely.
I mean, and the thing is, I guess when we practiced, it wasn't a full orchestra, so we were already blown away by it. And then I think another 15 musicians turned up on the day. So there's
a proper black tie event. Everybody's dressed up. And
it's different to your usual.
And we're just like, oh my God, what are we doing? What are we doing here?
So you've got lots of goths all dressed up in evening wear. It's just quite.
But it was absolutely amazing. Really, it was definitely one of the kind of highlights of what we've done. So.
And obviously Germany have kind of like adopted you guys. And where would you say your most hardcore following is? Out of Scandinavia, Germany, is it hard to tell?
I mean, the largest following is in Germany, I guess. Scandinavia, but I mean, hardcore. I suppose you define it as enthusiasm for it. The numbers aren't so big here, but we still have a good show, and we can still play pretty much anywhere.
We've done an American tour in 2011, which was kind of really I don't know, grounding for us, because we were used to playing kind of big-ish events and big crowds, and then we decided, right, okay, we're going to tour America, and we done it on a budget, on a tour bus, and we kind of went from small clubs to tiny little bars to big clubs, and it was really good. It was kind of, like I said, it was grounding for you. It was almost brought you back to your kind of roots, and so even there we've got a following in America.
The enthusiasm's the same. It's just the numbers are different. But,
I suppose. Yeah.
But the States was interesting. It's like starting again. Really, we did some festival the other day, didn't we? It's like a West Country festival, and it was like starting from scratch.
You're preparing for a gig now, aren't you? You're going to Russia? Is that?
We've got end of this. Thursday we're flying out. We've got 4 shows. We're playing Oberhausen, Berlin, Leipzig, and then we fly out to Moscow to do a showdown. So. That's it.
So, guys, we'll put links to all that below. And I say, if you've not heard of Mesh, do yourself a favor. You know the kind of music I'm into that we talk on this channel. Do yourself a favor. These guys are Britain's best kept secret, but they are very well known in Germany and all the countries that have good taste. Am I going to leave that in? Yes. You're busy working on, because your last album came in 2016. Yeah. You're working on new material. And as I say, I came in early on and I was happy to hear a sneak preview of what Richard was working on. Didn't say what it was, but when it comes out, I'm going to say I heard it first. You guys say planning a new album, or is it just there's no any release date on that or anything? No. So you don't work towards it's just when it's ready, it's ready.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I was saying to you earlier, we took a kind of not a year out, but it was a long time out. We'd done this kind of retrospective tour, which was playing all our old songs, and so that took quite a period of time. So, but obviously we've
massive job.
Yeah, because I reprogrammed, or we both reprogrammed the whole show.
Yes.
So these songs sounded different. You recognise the song, but it was done in a kind of slightly different take.
Yes.
So all that took a lot of time.
Because we didn't have any of the data. That's why.
And that as well. Yeah, but now we've kind of come down from that. It's we had a little bit of a break, and I think we're kind of almost ready to start writing again.
Because Richard, you said earlier you guys aren't a fan of the whole nostalgia thing because you don't want to ride on older songs. You like to be current and put new stuff out all the time.
Yeah, I think I almost don't like doing singles and things like that. I would rather do something else or do something new. Yeah. Or do something old, but maybe an album track or something like that. Because I think we got a slightly different following. I don't think people necessarily say, "Oh, I love that single that you did," or it's sometimes the opposite is the case, if you know what I mean. Yes. They like the albums and they like this track off it and they like that track off it, and the singles are obviously, they get the people that maybe don't know that much about you, but they might have been to a club and heard it, so you need to do some of them. But we had quite good fun doing the sort of retrospective one, but it was just a lot of work. I didn't realise it was like writing 2 albums in one go. And doing all the video and doing all that stuff is, because we were using LEDs and backlights and just all had to be done. We just do it all.
The whole live thing, whether you've seen any, I don't know, but the whole live thing is quite like a spectacle. We have like big LED panels, not projecting, but displaying stuff. We've also got over a projector that does things. We have a kind of dedicated lighting guy, so the whole thing is like a show. It's a production. It's not just rocking up and doing a gig. It is a full production. We got a full crew, a tour bus, a trailer that takes all this stuff.
It's a bit of a rod for your own back, but it's worth it. Sometimes the costs are not prohibitive because we still do it, but it's a big thing. But we decided not to go down the route of just trying to make money for the sake of making money and cut the production because it's expensive.
We want to put on a show. We want people to walk out and say, "Wow, that was amazing." Rather than just it was a good gig. You know what I mean? So, and it was a kind of memorable thing. You remember these big images that's connected with that song, etc. So yeah. And every time we do a tour, we kind of think, you might play that song again, but it'd be nice to have a different video. You know what I mean? Absolutely, so like Mark said, it's a rod for your own back. You make it hard work, but it was quite rewarding at the end of it. It's well worth the effort and stress and time it takes to do it, because it makes it such a kind of special event, So we've always kind of prided ourselves on doing that, every tour really. So,
well, guys, there's so much we can talk about, but as I said, I don't want to I don't want to give the viewers too much. I would like to sort of keep the relationship going, and hopefully we can later down the line interview you guys on Skype. Guys, I'm going to leave all the information and links to Mesh below. Check them out. And as I said, I'd like to follow your progress and how you're going with the albums, and just on talking about the albums. You're one of the few bands these days in this new economic music industry that can actually sell records, because you actually print CDs. Do you print vinyls as well?
Yeah, we do CDs, vinyl. We do go down the box set route, and so I mean the fan base we got do kind of invest in the whole package, I suppose. They like the artwork, because again, we got again it's a rod for your own back, but I mean we get involved in the artwork, even to the extent of doing mock-ups for it, and then you get a professional to do it, somebody who knows what they're doing with Photoshop. But yeah, it's vinyl selling well in Germany. I think 25% of stores over there now are dedicated to vinyl, which is strange, but it's quite cool as well.
Any advice to aspiring artists that want to come to the industry? And
I used to just say no, don't do it. But I mean,
it's all worth it. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of hassle. It's a lot of time out of your life. But I think everything we've done has been great. Good times, bad times. It's a roller coaster ride, but ultimately it's amazing. You get to see the world. You meet so many people. As for advice, I mean, just stick to what you're doing. If you it's that whole cliche thing again, but if you believe in yourself, just keep going.
I mean, I think as a practical piece of advice, I think that the thing that changes everything is that if you find yourself a show, get a gig and do a gig. Because it's easy to sit in here. This is a lovely place to sit. You can sit in here all for years and never do anything. Yeah. If you get out on the road and find out what it is that people like about what you do, then you can work on that. Because I don't think we would have done any of this if we hadn't toured Scandinavia on a random invite to go over there. Sure. We probably wouldn't have done it. Because you can't really sell records without going touring. And I suppose you could get downloads, but I think you still have to go out.
And I think certainly within this kind of genre of music, there is no kind of radio. I mean, it's difficult. So the gig thing is, people who are into this music will turn up at these gigs, and if you're a support act or whatever, it's a good exposure to that amount of people. Whereas, like I said, you won't get the normal radio show. You might get a very, dedicated kind of specific radio show on college radio or whatever, but there is no big opening for it.
It's nice to get feedback, and sometimes it's hard. People, especially if you gig in Germany, you get some very, very honest advice. Oh, right. Of course, yeah. Nobody needs this song. Things like that.
Do they say
something like it'll be along those lines. Yeah,
das ist gut or that is shite.
I mean, that's a great song, but the vocals are terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, nice to meet you. It's that kind of thing. Of course, yeah.
Meaning you sang it badly, or whatever they mean.
Whatever the comment is, it will be something that probably in England would be just, oh my God. Yeah, maybe offensive, I don't know. But, really kind of honest, maybe overcritical, I don't know. But if you can get used to those things, you can do anything.
And really. They're fans of yours as well, aren't they?
Love it, yeah. That terrible song, that one I really like. What is it?
But I think that's the difference, because I mean, I've lived. You can tell by my accent, I'm not native to this wonderful country, but I've lived here for 20 years, and I've lived here long enough to know that people be like, "Oh, great, that's nice," and behind your back, whereas the Germans will say, "We do not like this. The song with the bad vocals, but with the good, we like this one. Can I buy your album?" Is that right?
And I suppose it saves a lot of time.
I like the honesty. I think that's great. I think it is really cool.
I mean, it can be quite draining sometimes, but I think it's probably best in the long run, because at least you cut straight to the chase. Yeah, I don't like that one. Right. Well, okay, fine. Let's move on. Yeah. Rather than if you're in England, they say, well, sure, I'll have another listen to that one. Just be honest, I suppose. But yeah, coming back to the original point, touring is, it builds on what you do in the studio, and it makes you hard to the whole industry, because the industry changes all the time. It's very difficult at the moment, because record companies have kind of gone, I suppose, in a way. And you've got to do things on your own, and you've got to deal with things on your own. And gigging is part of that, really. So it's a very complicated business arrangement that you have. It's hard work. And you've got to be fairly thick-skinned with all of these things. So it's, that would be my advice. Just go out and play some shows. See how it goes. Even if it's one person. We've done that. We played to one person once.
Well, tell him the secret gig story, Mark.
Yeah, so
go on.
so we were doing was it South by Southwest?
Southwest in Austin.
So we did South by Southwest, and we were playing a show which was a publicised show, and we had we were dealing with an American guy at the time, and he'd arranged because secret shows were, I think radio had to play one recently. Secret shows were all the rage, right? I'm going to organise a secret show, right? But he just literally did a secret show, right? So he didn't really organise it. He didn't do anything. Anyway, we turned up in this big stage, big venue, and there's one person turned up who managed to find out about it.
It was so secret, nobody knew it was on.
So we played the entire show
to one guy,
and then we went out to dinner with him. And we almost got shot on the way to the restaurant because he cut somebody up on the interstate, and the guy got out and flashed a gun around. Anyway, the whole evening was excellent. So that's the kind of thing that touring does for you. It gives you brilliant stories and makes you tough.
Yeah.
So you literally did a 4-piece band, full lighting effects for one member.
Of course.
One guy.
Well, he's turned up. We might as well do it.
He loved it though, didn't he?
Yeah, he loved it. Of course he did.
Did he buy a record? Is he a fan still? At least he must be.
I think he bought us dinner.
Yeah. It was a very funny evening, but yeah, that's a true story.
Yeah.
Well, one of many, I'm sure.
Well, we've got loads to
Guys, I've really enjoyed this chat, and I really look forward to hearing new material from you guys. As I say, mesh.co.uk. All links below. Richard, Mark, thank you so much, guys. Check them out. Lots of love to you all, and we'll see you on the next episode. See you later.